There's a quiet kind of power in the world of Azeroth. It doesn't come from fell fire or frozen rune blades, or even the light itself. It's the power of the still mind, the calm breath, and the punch that lands so fast your enemy's soul leaves, before their body hits the ground. The power belongs to the monk. Now, if you're picturing some ancient, robe-clad sage meditating under a waterfall, good news, you're only half right.
Ow.
The other half is a barefoot, beer-fueled brawler, drop-kicking a warlock into the stratosphere. Because monks aren't just about balance. They're about impact. And while most adventurers climb to the top of the level cap before they start throwing hands, there's a hidden subculture of players who know the real fun begins much earlier, way earlier. I'm talking about level 11 twink monks. Pint-sized punching machines that hit like raid bosses and move like caffeinated ferrets. You see, World of Warcraft has always had a soft spot for the overachievers. The players who look at the level curve and say, nah, I'll stay right here and break the game instead. And monks, they're one of the most devastating ways to do it. At level 11, a well-built monk can sprint circles around enemies twice. Their size, heal through punishment that should splatter them across the map, dish out enough damage to make higher-level characters nervous. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we dive into the art of turning a baby monk into a one-panda wrecking crew, we need to understand where this class came from and why it plays the way it does. Because to twink a monk properly, you have to think like a monk, and that means knowing their story. Every monk's story begins long before they throw their first kick. It starts on the mist-shrouded continent of Pandaria, where the people learned long ago that strength didn't always come from steel or sorcery. Sometimes it came from within. Centuries before the Alliance and Horde ever set foot there, Pandaria was ruled by the cruel Mogu, who enslaved the Pandaron and stripped them of weapons and hope alike. But when you can't fight with blades, you learn to fight with fists. The Pandaron developed martial arts as a way to rebel without tools, transforming their bodies into weapons and their minds into fortresses. Eventually, they overthrew their masters not with armies, but with discipline, patience, and an iron. Well, that's the soul of the monk class. Not rage like a warrior, or power like a mage, but balance. Every punch is a lesson. Every step is a philosophy. And every pint of ale is, apparently, a valid training tool. Mandarin monks took those teachings beyond their homeland, sharing them with every race willing to learn. Soon, orcs, night elves, and even undead were spinning through the air with chi-fueled kicks and serene smiles. But here's the fun twist. That same elegant, ancient discipline, it's also why monks are absolute monsters when twinked at low levels. Because unlike most classes, monks scale terrifyingly well from the very start. The early levels give them a toolkit that's shockingly complete movement. Self-healing, burst damage, control, all baked into their design from the word go. That martial tradition of body over weapon translates beautifully into low-level chaos. It's poetic, really. The same arts that freed a continent from tyranny can also free a level 11 monk from the laws of game balance. And while they may look like unassuming novices with barely a handful of abilities, those abilities trace their lineage back to centuries of rebellion and mastery. That's the spirit you're channeling when you twink a monk. Not just a class, but a philosophy. Not just a fighter, but a living weapon. And speaking of living weapons, it's time to talk about how that philosophy turns into gameplay and why monks fight the way they do. If there's one thing monks believe in, it's balance. Balance between offense and defense, between speed and patience, between a flying kick and a tactical nap under a cherry blossom tree. But in practice, that balance usually tips toward obliterating anything dumb enough to stand still. Monks are designed around the idea of flow. They're not about planting your feet and trading blows like a warrior or nooking from afar like a mage. They're about weaving through the fight like wind through bamboo, hitting where the enemy isn't looking, healing before they know they've landed a blow, and vanishing out of reach the moment danger spikes. They're chaos wrapped in control. Even at level 11, this identity is fully formed. You've got movement abilities that make you feel like a parkour world champion, self-healing that embarrasses full healers, and damage bursts that seem to break every law of scaling. The result is a playstyle that feels slippery. Opponents try to pin you down, but you're never where they expect. They go for the kill, and you're suddenly back at full health, spinning around them like an over-caffeinated Beyblade. What's wild is how early monks get their core mechanics. At a time when other classes are still whacking things with basic attacks, monks are already dancing. They're generating energy chi to fuel devastating abilities. They're chaining mobility, skills together, and they're balancing light self-sustained with raw pressure. It's like Blizzard gave them the in-game toolkit, but forgot to lock the door. That's what makes them so perfect for twinking. Because where other classes need gear to cover for missing tools, monks are the tools. Their base kit is so self-sufficient, so fundamentally complete, that all Gia has to do is push their strengths over the edge. And oh boy, does it ever. This balanced but deadly identity also explains why fighting a monk feels so different. It's not a slugfest, it's a puzzle. If you chase them, they'll kite you. If you back off, they'll close the gap. If you go Ellen, they'll out-heal you. All the while, they're chipping away at you, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash a burst combo that deletes your health bar in seconds. Balance. Sure. But the kind that means you hit the floor while they sip tea over your corpse. Now that we understand what monks are all about, let's talk about the juicy stuff, the ups and downs. Because while monks have some of the best tools in the low-level game, they're not without quirks. It's time to weigh the scales. Let's be honest, if monks were a stock, every twinker would be buying. There's a reason level 11 monks have a reputation for punching way above their weight. They bring a ridiculous number of strengths to the table, and the deeper you go, the more broken they feel. Let's break down why they're such a powerhouse. 1. Mobility that breaks ankles. Monks move like nothing else at low levels. Even before higher level talents and gear come into play, they get access to movement skills that make other classes jealous. Roll alone turns them into lightning bolts. And when you combine it with speed enchants and clever positioning, you're basically untouchable. Chasing a twink monk is like trying to catch a housefly with chopsticks. Possible. It's technically, but humiliating to watch too. Self-healing that should be illegal. One of the most unfair aspects of twink monks is their self-sustain. Even without dedicated healing spec tools, they passively restore health through abilities like Vivify and talents that reward active play. It means that every fight is on their terms. If they start losing, they reset. If you get close, they bounce back. It's like fighting a rubber band that heals itself every time you stretch it. 3. Burst. Damage that melts faces. Here's where things get spicy. Monks at level 11 can output damage numbers that feel wildly disproportionate to their size. Their abilities scale aggressively with primary stats and enchants. They can delete targets before they even realize they're in trouble. A well-timed combo of Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, and auto attacks can erase half a health bar in seconds. It's not uncommon for a twink monk to 1v2 or even 1v3. If they know what they're doing. Point 4. Control and utility galore. Monks don't just hit hard and heal, they control fights. Stuns, slows, and knockbacks make them a nightmare to lock down. Their ability to peel enemies off allies or chase down runners gives them huge value in battlegrounds and duels alike. And remember, they do all of this while zipping around the map like a caffeinated squirrel. 5. A shockingly complete toolkit. Early on, this is the real cheat code. Monks get most of what makes them strong very early. Other classes often feel half-finished at low levels, missing core cooldowns, sustain or mobility until the 20s or 30s. Monks, they show up to the party fully dressed. That means every point of gear or enchant power multiplies their effectiveness, instead of just patching holes. 6. Versatility in roles. Even twinked, monks can flex. They can brawl in melee, act as mobile assassins, disrupt enemy healers, or anchor flag carriers with healing and speed. Their ability to pivot between roles mid-fight makes them unpredictable, and unpredictability wins games. Put all that together, and you get a level 11 character that feels like it skipped a few dozen levels of weakness. They're fast, they're slippery, they're self-sufficient, and they hit like a truck full of chi. It's not just that they're strong, it's that they're fun. There's a joy to zipping across a battlefield, outplaying higher level opponents, and knowing you're breaking the game just a little. But of course, nothing is perfect. Even the most disciplined fighter has their blind spots. And if you want to master the art of twinking a monk, you need to know what can go wrong. Alright, so far we've been singing monks' praises like they're the second coming of Chen Stormstout. And don't get me wrong, they're monstrous when twinked right. But let's pump the brakes for a moment and talk about the other side of the coin, because while monks are powerful, they're not invincible. And knowing their weaknesses is the difference between a level 11 demigod and a level 11 free honor. Kill 1, gear-dependent scaling monks scale extremely well, but that's a double-edged spear. If you're not properly twinked out with the best possible gear, enchants, and consumables, your monk is going to feel dramatically weaker. Their burst windows shrink, their survivability drops, and suddenly that 1v3 machine looks more like 1v1, maybe on a good day. Twinking is a min-maxing game, and monks are no exception. Go all in, or don't expect miracles. 2. Squishier than they look? Yes, monks can heal. Yes, they can dodge. But their base defenses are still lighter than most melee classes. They don't wear plate, they don't have massive shields. And if you get caught without chi or cooldowns, you can evaporate faster than a keg in the brewmaster's kitchen. Positioning and timing are your armor, and if you mess either up, you will pay for it. 3. Chi management can trip you up. Monks run on a resource called chi. And while it's simple on paper, mismanaging it can ruin your flow. Blow your chi too early, and you're stuck poking things with weak basic attacks. Hoard it too long, and you waste potential burst. Act! Twinking magnifies this problem because fights are shorter and decisions matter more. A good monk feels like a ballet dancer. A bad one feels like they're trying to do ballet in a swamp. 4. High skill ceiling monks are easy to play, but hard to master. Their kit rewards quick thinking, movement, precision, and ability timing. New players often waste mobility, overcommit, or forget to weave healing into their rotation. And at level 11, small mistakes can snowball fast. A skilled monk feels unstoppable. A sloppy monk feels like a very energetic paperweight. 5. Weak 2 hard crowd. Control because monks rely on movement and healing uptime. Nothing kills their momentum faster than a well-timed stun or root. Classes with strong CC hunters, mages, warlocks can ruin your day if you're not careful. Even a low-level polymorph or freezing trap can turn your fancy footwork into a slow emotion. Demise. 6. Gear gaps hit harder. One more twink-specific drawback. Monks are more sensitive to gear gaps than some other classes. Still be effective with decent gear, but a monk missing even 1 or 2 key enchants might feel like they're fighting underwater. Every stat point counts, which means getting bis gear isn't optional, it's essential. So, are these deal breakers? Absolutely not. Most of them are just challenges to overcome, and that's what makes mastering a monk so satisfying. But they're worth knowing, because when you build your little level 11 kung fu machine, you want to build it with your eyes open. Now that we've seen both sides of the coin, it's time to talk about the real secret sauce of all this madness. Twinking itself. Because if you're going to commit to the art of the level 11 monk, you need to understand the weird, wonderful subculture that makes it possible. Alright, so far we've been singing monks' praises like they're the second coming of Chen Stormstout. And don't get me wrong, they're monstrous when twinked right. But let's pump the brakes for a moment and talk about the other side of the coin, because while monks are powerful, they're not invincible. And knowing their weaknesses is the difference between a level 11 demigod and a level 11 free honor. Kill 1. Gear-dependent scaling monks scale extremely well. but that's a double-edged spear. If you're not properly twinked out with the best possible gear, enchants, and consumables, your monk is going to feel dramatically weaker. Their burst windows shrink, their survivability drops. Suddenly that 1v3 machine looks more like 1v1, maybe on a good day. Twinking is a min-maxing game, and monks are no exception. Go all in, or don't expect miracles. 2. Squishier than they look? Yes. Monks can heal. Yes, they can dodge. But their base defenses are still lighter than most melee classes. They don't wear plate, they don't have massive shields, and if you get caught without chi or cooldowns, you can evaporate faster than a keg in the brewmaster's kitchen. Positioning and timing are your armor, and if you mess either up, you will pay for it. 3. Chi management can trip you up. Monks run on a resource called chi. And while it's simple on paper, mismanaging it can ruin your flow. Blow your chi too early, and you're stuck poking things with weak basic attacks. Hoard it too long, and you waste potential burst. Twinking magnifies this problem because fights are shorter, and decisions matter more. A good monk feels like a ballet dancer. A bad one feels like they're trying to do ballet in a swamp. 4. High skill ceiling monks are easy to play, but hard to master. Their kit rewards quick thinking, movement precision, and ability timing. New players often waste mobility, overcommit, or forget to weave healing into their rotation. And at level 11, small mistakes can snowball fast. A skilled monk feels unstoppable. A sloppy monk feels like a very energetic paperweight. 5. Week 2, hard crowd. Control because monks rely on movement and healing uptime. Nothing kills their momentum faster than a well-timed stun or root. Classes with strong CC hunters, mages, warlocks can ruin your day if you're not careful. Even a low-level polymorph or freezing trap can turn your fancy footwork into a slow emotion. Demise. 6. Gear gaps hit harder. One more twink-specific drawback. Monks are more sensitive to gear gaps than some other classes. A rogue or hunter can still be effective with decent gear, but a monk missing even 1 or 2 key enchants might feel like they're fighting underwater. Every stat point counts, which means getting Baskier isn't optional, it's essential. So are these deal breakers? Absolutely not. Most of them are just challenges to overcome, and that's what makes mastering a monk so satisfying. You want to build it with your eyes open. Now that we've seen both sides of the coin, it's time to talk about the real secret sauce of all this madness. Twinking itself. Because if you're going to commit to the art of the level 11 monk, you need to understand the weird, wonderful subculture that makes it possible.
I heard screaming.
Did anyone give in?
Sayana Nightglaive turned traitor. She joined.
If you've spent any time in Azeroth, you've probably seen them, the tiny terrors of Warsong Gulch, the pint-sized assassins in Lobby dungeons. The level 11 characters stomping everything in sight. They're not hackers, they're not cheating, they're twinks, and they're playing an entirely different game than everyone else. Twinking, for the uninitiated, is the art of locking a character at a specific low level and then loading them up with the best gear, enchants, consumables, and professions money and patience can buy. Instead of racing to max level, Twink players chase perfection within the level bracket. It's not about the grind, it's about domination. The concept goes back to the early days of World of Warcraft. Back then, veterans would gear up level 19 rogues or hunters to rule low-level battlegrounds. One-shotting fresh players and earning infamy in the process. Over time, Twinking evolved into a whole subculture, part science, part art, and part trollish delight. There are Discord servers, farming guides, and spreadsheets dedicated entirely to perfecting Twink builds. But why, you might ask? Does level 11 matter? Why not the classic level 19 or 29, or some other milestone? The answer is beautifully nerdy, scaling and befriend. At level 11, you're just high enough to equip some crucial pieces of gear and unlock core monk abilities, but still low enough that your stats scale like crazy. In Blizzard's system, many enchants and items don't scale down linearly. Instead, they spike disproportionately at certain levels. Level 11 sits right on one of those sweet spots, where power skyrockets relative to what enemies expect in that bracket. It's the twinking equivalent of a cheat code, and because monks get so much of their toolkit early, they benefit from this more than most classes. A rogue might still be missing key combo tools, and a mage might be stuck with basic spells. Monk. They've already got mobility burst and sustain, and twinking just turns all of that up to 11. Literally. There's also the psychological factor. Most players see a level 11 character and think easy kill. Then they're face first in the dirt before they realize what's happening. That mix of underestimation and overperformance is pure twinking magic. Of course, twinking isn't just about power, it's also about creativity. Finding obscure quest rewards, rare bows, and perfect stat combos becomes its own game. Every enchant is a puzzle piece. Every item, a tiny victory. And when it all comes together, you don't just have a character, you have a weapon. Now that, we understand the what and the why of twinking. It's time to answer the big question. Why monks? It's what makes them so devastating at this specific level, and how do they abuse the system better than anyone else?
You will soon be free.
Another morsel has come to say hello!
All right. We've danced around it long enough. It's time to pull back the bamboo curtain and talk about the real reason level 11 monks are so terrifying. It's not just because they're fast or self-healing or stylish, though they are. All of those things, it's because of scaling. Dirty, broken, blizzard math, scaling. Here's the dirty little secret. World of Warcraft's low-level combat isn't linear. Stats like agility, stamina, crit, and versatility don't scale the same way at level 11 as they do at level 70. In fact, they scale better. Much better. A few points of agility at max level might barely nudge your DPS, but at level 11, that same amount can spike your damage by ridiculous percentages. It's like the difference between pouring a cup of water into a lake versus into a shot glass. Same water, it's way bigger impact. And monks just happen to sit at the crossroads of everything that's scaling buffs. They scale explosively with primary. Stats like agility, which fuels their damage, their crit, and even their self-healing. They also benefit heavily from haste, which speeds up their energy regen and lets them dump chi faster. Even versatility hits harder at this level, juicing both damage and damage reduction in ways that feel unfair. But the real kicker, they get so much kit power early that the scaling doesn't have to make up for missing tools. It's amplifying a toolkit that's already there. You're not turning weak spells into decent ones. You're turning good spells into game-breaking ones. Here's an example. Take Tiger Palm, a bread and butter ability that generates chi and deals damage based on agility. At endgame, it's a workhorse, but not a nuke. At level 11, with Twinkle level agility, that basic ability can chunk 20 to 30% of someone's health in one hit. Follow it with a blackout kick, maybe weave in an auto attack or two, and you're staring at a burst combo that deletes players before they finish typing. BG high. And because monks move like they're late for dinner, it's almost impossible to avoid that burst. You can't kite them. You can't outrun them. Even if you do, they'll just heal back up and try again. Their sustain, fueled by early scaling, turns them into little self-contained engines of destruction. It's not just damage either. Healing abilities like Vivify benefit from the same stat shenanigans, restoring enormous chunks of health off relatively small numbers. That means a monk can reset fights over and over again, wearing you down, waiting for the perfect moment, and then striking like lightning. And remember, all of this happens at a level where most classes still feel like they're missing half their toolkit. A level 11 monk isn't missing anything. They're playing the full game while everyone else is still learning the tutorial. This is why twink monks feel like raid bosses in battlegrounds and dungeon runs. It's why they turn duels into drive-bys and skirmishes into slapstick comedies. It's not just that they're strong, it's that they're strong way earlier than anyone. Specs. Now that we understand why they hit like a semi-truck full of chi, Let's talk about how to build one. It's because raw potential is great, but a proper twink build, that's where the real fun begins.
Here's the thing about monks, they're not just one class, they're three wildly different personalities stuffed into the same pair of pants. Each spec changes the way your tiny level 11 gremlin of a monk fights, survives, and humiliates fully grown adventurers. Let's meet the trio. Brewmaster, the drunken guardian Imogen. If a boulder learned kung fu and smelled faintly of ale, that's Brewmaster. These tank monks don't just soak hits, they absorb them like a tipsy sponge, staggering damage over time. That means in Twink PvP or low-level dungeon crawling, you're way harder to burst down than anyone expects. Pros, survives burst damage. Like a champ, Stagger mechanic makes you feel invincible, can kite like crazy with roll and transcendence. Cons, lower damage output, requires timing and awareness to use stagger well. Twink tip, stack versatility and stamina early even at level 11. A Brewmaster can feel like a raid boss with the right gear. Pair that with a macro to expel harm and you'll outlive entire groups. Windwalker, the Kung Fu Hurricanethus, is the spec for those who believe subtlety is for rogues. Windwalkers spin, kick, and burst their way through fights, often deleting enemies before they even realize they're in combat. And at level 11, oh, it's even dumber. Your spinning crane kick turns into a blender, your tiger palm feels like a cannonball, and your mobility is unmatched. Pros, insane burst for low-level PvP, mobility that turns you into a teleporting mosquito, can solo elites with careful kiting. Cons, squishier than Brewmaster, energy management takes finesse. Twink tip, use your mobility as part of your offense, roll behind casters mid-cast, flying serpent kick into melee range, and keep pressure constant. Windwalker isn't about winning trades. It's about making sure trades never happen. Mistweaver, the Zen Medicif, the idea of watching your friends dive into certain death and pulling them back out again sounds appealing. Mistweaver is your vibe. Even at level 11, your healing toolkit is shockingly powerful. You'll laugh as others struggle to stay alive while you juggle renewing mist and vivify like some sort of green glowing bard. Pros, massive healing output, even with limited spells. Great sustain in dungeon twink groups. Surprisingly slippery thanks to mobility. Cons, low damage contribution. Mana management can get tricky. Twink tip, don't underestimate melee mistweaving. A few well-timed kicks and tiger palms while you're weaving in heals can pressure enemies who expect you to stand back and chant mantras. Lore break, the path of the three teachings. Lind has it that after Pandaria's greatest monk, Xiaohao, ascended to celestial status, his students debated how best to honor his legacy. Some focused on defense, mimicking the ox's patience. Others embraced offense, channeling the tiger's ferocity. And a rare few sought harmony and healing, walking the Jade Serpent's path. Each path became a pillar of monk training, and you, dear Twink, are walking those same ancient roads, albeit with a very overpowered pair of heirloom boots. Final word, at level 11, all three specs are viable, but they shine in different arenas. Brewmaster dominates objective play and tanking. Windwalker melts faces in duels and burst fights, and Mistweaver turns your team into an unkillable meme squad. The beauty is, you're not stuck with one. Switch specs between matches, surprise your enemies, and remind them that monks are chaos incarnate. So you've chosen your spec. You've geared like a loot goblin. Your monk is now a pocket-sized engine of chaos. But all of that means nothing if you don't know how to fight like a monk, not just punching things, but embarrassing them. Twinking is as much about psychology as power, and monks are masters of both. 1. Openers. First punch wins fights. Monks don't trade blows, they set the pace. And at level 11, the opening few seconds decide almost every PvP encounter. Windwalker open with flying serpent kick straight into melee, land tiger palm, then weave blackout kick and spinning crane kick if they're clumped. You want them panicking before they even react. Brewmaster, pull with provoke to draw attention, roll into range, then lock them down with constant melee pressure. Most lobies don't know how to handle a tank that hurts back. Mistweaver, if you're healing, never open in the back. Start by positioning aggressively, make them think you're bait. Then pivot into healing while your team collapses on them. Twink trick, macro a saline like the storm approaches. Just before you kick in, it's psychological warfare. Half your duels are won before the first punch lands. 2. Mastering mobility be everywhere, hit everything mobility is. The heart of the monk's combat style. At level 11, when most classes have to buttons and a prayer, you have roll, flying serpent kick, and transcendence. Used correctly, they make you uncatchable or worse, omnipresent. Roll isn't just for escaping, it's an offensive repositioning tool. Roll behind casters mid-cast to force a miss. Roll through melee to break target lock, flying serpent. Kick his gap closer, disengage, interrupt, and BM tool all at once. Land it to start fights, use it mid-fight to reposition, or kick away to reset. Transcendence is your nope button. Place it behind a wall before combat. If things go sideways, teleport out, heal, and re-engage. Dirty monk move, use roll. Behind a hunter right as they cast concussive shot, they'll fire it in the wrong direction, and you'll still be kicking them in the face when it lands. 3. The art of burst hit and run like a Stormonk burst is short, brutal, and deeply unfair at level 11. You don't want long, drawn-out fights, you want chaos in 5 seconds or less. Windwalker burst combo, flying serpent kick into target, tiger, palm, blackout kick immediately, spinning crane kick if multiple enemies are to finish. If done right, they're already dead or panicking so hard they can't respond. If not, roll out, reset, and do it again in 10 seconds. You are a storm in and out, never in one place long enough to get focused. Monk fact, Pandaren masters believed battles were decided in 3 breaths. Coincidentally, that's about how long it takes for a Windwalker twink to delete someone's health bar. 4. Defensive shenanigans never die. Again, your defense toolkit is sneaky good for level 11. Most players expect you to melt fast. Joke's on them, you're secretly built like a raid boss. Expel harm. This is your emergency button. Even at low levels, it's a clutch self-heal that scales absurdly well with stamina. Vivify Mistweaver with enough haste. You can cast this mid-combat and stay alive through burst windows. Kiting plus transcendence. When in doubt, bail. Teleport out, drink, and reset the fight. They'll still be standing there wondering what happened. Brewmaster's secret, your stagger is more powerful than most twinks realize. Pop a heal right as damage ticks, and you'll erase 50% of the burst. They thought they landed. 5. PvP mind games. Chaos is a weapon's most powerful tool a monk has. Confusion. Low-level PvP is chaos incarnate, and if you lean into it, you'll win fights before they happen. Fake retreat. Roll back like you're fleeing, wait for them to chase, then flying serpent kick back in and unload burst, interrupt with positioning. Don't even bother kicking casts, just teleport behind them mid-cast. Line of sight is the best silence in the game. Dance with transcendence. Drop it out of sight. Jump into combat, teleport out when they commit, then roll back in from a new angle. They'll never know where you're coming from. Ancient monk wisdom, confuse the mind, and the body follows. Also, confuse the player, and they rage quit. 6. PvE tips. Tiny raid boss energy. While most of this chapter is PvP centric, don't underestimate how terrifying a twink monk is in dungeons and solo runs. Use roll to skip trash pulls and speedrun objectives. Brewmasters can solo mini-bosses by rotating self-heals and staggering hits. Mistweavers turn low-level dungeons into one-button cakewalks. Speedrun trick, pre-place transcendence near the dungeon exit before the final boss. After the kill, teleport straight to the door and flex on the group as they jog behind you. Final wisdom, monks don't win fights by being stronger, they win by being everywhere, all the time, and impossible to predict. Your toolkit is deeper than any other level 11 class, and once you master positioning, pacing, and psychological warfare, you stop playing the game and start controlling it. It is not the destination, but the level cap you deliberately never reach. Let's pause for a moment. You've built a weapon. You've enchanted it, honed it, and unleashed it upon unsuspecting adventurers. But now, the inevitable question bubbles up from the back of your mind, and probably from every random player you annihilate. Why? Why would anyone stop at level 11? And that, friend, is where the twink philosophy begins. 1. Twinking is the art of refusal. Most players rush toward the cap. They devour quests, ding as fast as they can, and dream of raids. Twinks look at that and say, no, I think I'll stay right here and break the laws of physics instead. Twinking is about choosing not to grow, and in doing so, becoming absurdly powerful within the limits you accept. It's an act of rebellion, of creativity, of saying, I will not grind 69 more levels to have fun. I will have fun right now. It's refusing the rat race and turning level 11 into an art form. 2. The beauty of balance at level 11. There's a sweet spot in early WoW where class design, scaling, and gear all collide in a perfect storm, and level 11 is one of those magical places. Abilities are simple but powerful. Scaling quirks mean certain stats skyrocket. Enchants and legacy gear ignore normal balance. What you get is a sandbox where skill and knowledge matter far more than raw numbers. It's a return to old school WoW where clever play beats brute force, and every duel feels like a mind game rather than a gear check. Twink monk reality, you will outplay people 50 levels higher than you, and it will feel delicious. 3. Lore. Justification. The Wandering Adeptures, a bit of flavor for the role-players among us. In Pandaren tradition, not every monk seeks to master every form. Some choose to spend years mastering the basics, the first steps, the foundational punches, the essence of Kai. They're known as Wandering Adepts, and though they lack advanced techniques, they are said to defeat seasoned warriors with nothing but fundamental skills and perfect timing. Sound familiar? That's exactly what a level 11 twink is. You're not under-leveled, you're over-disciplined. 4. Twinking is a lab, a playground for mastery, and the reason people twink monks. It's the best way to deep dive mechanics. You'll understand energy management better when you have fewer tools. You'll perfect positioning because you must. You'll learn fight pacing and reset windows down to the second. All of that translates into monstrous skill when you do level a monk to max. Think of your twink as a dojo, a place to refine the basics until they're second nature. Fun fact, many high-rated PvP players started as low-level twinks. Once you learn to win with limited tools, max-level toolkits feel like cheating. 5. Chaos is a lifestyle, and finally, let's be honest, twinking is funny. It's absurd. It's theatrical. There's something deeply satisfying about watching a level 70 player lose to a character who still has to ask for help crossing the street in Goldshire when you demolish a battleground scoreboard as a level 11 monk. That's not just victory, that's art. That's a performance. Ancient saying, he who defeats 1,000 FOs at level cap is strong. He who defeats one at level 11 is unforgettable. Final thought, twinking isn't about efficiency. It's not about metas or leaderboards. It's about joy. It's about mastery. It's about refusing to play the game the way you're told, and instead bending it around your will. When you stand atop a pile of fallen players as a level 11 monk, you understand a truth far older than Pandaria itself. The mountain is not high because it reaches the sky. It is high because I choose to climb it slowly. The beginner masters buttons. The master makes the buttons disappear. You've become strong. You've learned the moves, claimed the gear, and turned duels into art. But true monk power doesn't come from raw strength. It's from the little things, the subtle techniques and sneaky tactics that turn a good twink into a legendary one. This is the path beyond basic play. No macros, no gimmicks, just pure skill, timing, and monk level trickery. 1. Win the fight before it starts. Pre-battle preparation. Every great monk fight begins long before the first punch lands. Most players stand still and wait. You're already playing chess while they're tying their boots. Transcendence placement. Always set your teleport point somewhere clever before combat, behind a pillar, behind terrain, or on high ground. It's your panic button, your reset tool, and your psychological trap all in one. Kai and energy prep. Start every duel with maximum Kai and a full energy bar. Strike a critter, tap a dummy, or practice ability pacing before the pull. This ensures your opening burst hits instantly. Consumable setup, buff up before the fight. Scrolls, elixirs, and stamina drinks last long enough to carry through the opening seconds, and those seconds often decide the fight. Monk truth, the match begins not with a strike, but with the first breath before it. 2. Movement mastery. Controlling space like a ghost. Monk's true weapon isn't fists, it's positioning. Your ability to move is what makes you terrifying, and mastering it is how you dominate stronger opponents. Roll with purpose, don't waste roll to flee blindly. Use it to reposition offensively, rolling through enemies to break their aim, rolling behind casters mid-cast to interrupt line of sight, or rolling sideways to dodge skill shots. Flying serpent kick finesse. This isn't just a gap closer, it's an angle changer. Kick past your enemy to flip their camera and force them to turn. Kick toward walls to bounce into safety. Or use it as a disengage tool by aiming away mid-fight. Teleport mind games. Pre-place your spirit somewhere unexpected, like high ground or behind a fence. Mid-fight, teleport away and re-enter from a new angle. Most players lose track of you entirely when you vanish like mist. Advanced move, roll through your target as they attack. Many spells and ranged hits will miss due to the sudden change in facing. It's like dodging a bullet with Kung Fu. 3. Burst timing the 3 breath. Roulette level 11. Monk burst isn't about pressing buttons fast, it's about pressing them at the right time. You want to unleash your entire rotation inside a 3-5 second window where your enemy is most vulnerable. Engage with speed. Use flying serpent kick or roll to close distance. Explode instantly. Follow immediately with tiger palm into blackout. Kick and use spinning crane kick if multiple enemies are nearby. Back out if it fails. If they survive and blow cooldowns, disengage, don't stick around. Roll or teleport out, wait a few seconds, then re-engage once their defenses drop. Timing secret, watch for their defensive panic like a rogue's evasion or a paladin's bubble. Most players blow it after your first hit. Don't commit everything until they do. 4. Combat resets. How monks never die. A true monk doesn't fight until death. They fight, retreat, reset, and return. Resetting is one of the most powerful and most infuriating tools in your kit. Escape, heal, return, roll or serpent kick out of range when low. Use expel harm to heal, then come back once your energy refills. You'll win battles of attrition every time. Feign weakness, let your health dip dangerously low, then surprise them with a quick heal and counter burst. Enemies always overcome it when they think they're about to win. Terrain tricks in PvE. Leap behind corners or teleport far enough that mobs reset. This lets you solo enemies you were never supposed to face at your level. Wicked trick in battlegrounds. Place transcendence near a safe zone before grabbing a flag. If the chase gets hot, teleport back to safety instantly. It feels like cheating, but it's just discipline. 5. Adaptive gearing and on-the-fly adjustments. Advanced twinks don't just build a set and forget it, they adapt. While you can't macro swap gear here, you can think strategically before each fight. Know your opponent. If you're up against burst classes, wear more stamina and versatility gear. Against healers or tanks, stack haste for faster energy regen and more pressure. Situational trinkets. Some unused trinkets from old dungeons offer clutch effects like speed boosts or bonus crit. Equip them based on the map and enemy comp. Elemental awareness. Some mobs or bosses deal specific magic damage. A crafted resist cloak or shield can turn the tide entirely. Monk mindset. Preparation isn't something you do once, it's something you do before every battle. 6. Countering stealth and ambush. Rogues and ferals are the bane of low-level PvP, but monks have tools they don't expect. Spinning crane sweep, even if you don't see them, spinning near a suspected stealth location can reveal them. It's cheap, fast, and humiliating. Choke point control. Fight near narrow pathways or obstacles where stealth users have fewer angles to attack from. This forces them into predictable openers. Teleport punish. If you suspect an ambush, fight near your transcendence point. As soon as they open, teleport away and counterattack from range. Bonus trick, stand still and pretend to AFK. Many stealth players can't resist a free backstab. When they bite, turn and unleash your burst the moment they reveal themselves. Final wisdom, mastery of the monk doesn't come from more buttons, it comes from making every movement, every cooldown, and every second count. You're not just playing a class, you're bending space, time, and expectations around you. When you fight like this, your enemies won't say that monk was strong. They'll say, I have no idea what just happened. Even the smallest pebble can ripple the ocean. There's something poetic, almost ridiculous about the story of monks in Azereth. Born from the ashes of tyranny, raised by brewmaster philosophers, and now they're kicking gnolls in the teeth at level 11. It all starts long before your twink ever rolled into Warsong Gulch with a full heirloom set and a dream. The art of the monk traces back to the Pandaren of Pandaria, who, under the oppressive rule of the Mogu, discovered they didn't need weapons to fight. Their bodies were the weapons, their kai was the blade, and their beer, well, that was just for courage. The Pandaren legacy drunken masters and hidden Powerth first monks didn't wield swords or hammers, they wielded balance, flow, and patience. They taught that combat wasn't just about winning fights, it was about mastering oneself. Every punch was a breath, every kick a meditation. That same philosophy flows into twinking. Because let's be real, making a level 11 monk viable in a world full of max-level demigods isn't just gameplay, it's art. It's stubborn, ridiculous, beer-fueled art. You're walking the same path those Pandaren walked, turning limitations into strengths, simplicity into complexity. You're not strong despite being level 11. You're strong because of it. Twink history, from niche hobby to shadowy cult. The early days of twinking in WoW were wild. Back then, low-level PvP was an afterthought, a chaotic playground where level 19 rogues one-shot anyone who blinked wrong. But among the chaos, a small sect began exploring deeper. They weren't satisfied with just speed or burst. They wanted elegance, precision, style, and so the monk twink was born. Late to the party, maybe, but instantly infamous. While other twinks brute forced their way through brackets, monks danced through them. They didn't win by out-damaging, they won by out-thinking, out-moving, and outlasting. A rogue could kill you in a second, a hunter could kite you forever, but a monk could make you quit the game out of sheer confusion. Philosophy of the tiny fist. Why we twink. At the heart of it, twinking a monk isn't about dominance. It's about creativity. It's about finding joy in limits. Anyone can be powerful at level 70, but only a rare breed of lunatic looks at level 11 and says, I bet I can make this unbeatable. And when you do, when you dodge every cooldown, kite every melee, and walk out of a 1v3 with a sliver of health and a smirk, you're not just playing World of Warcraft anymore. You're writing it, because twinking isn't a gear score. It's not a damage meter. It's an act of rebellion. A love letter to the sandbox Blizzard built and the chaos we create inside it. Final words, a toast to the path ahead. So here's to you, monktwink.to, the player who refuses to outlevel the fun.to, the artist painting victory with jabs and rolls.to, the storm that lives inside the smallest frame. May your kai flow like ale from a brewmaster's keg. May your rolls always land just out of range, and may your enemies never quite understand how they lost, because this absurd, beautiful, over-the-top way of playing is what keeps Azeroth alive. And that's the story of the level 11 monk. From ancient Pandaren masters to modern battleground tricksters, from humble beginnings to legendary duels, you're part of a lineage that's both hilarious and heroic. The path doesn't end here. It only begins when the queue pops.